Ready to stop renting, but not sure it's the right market to buy in yet? Stay tuned as we discuss, should you wait or should you buy? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is really pay attention to where it is that you're getting your information from in the first place. Okay, if you're getting your information from, let's say, like a real estate agent or someone who's like a real estate professional themselves, they're going to tell you all year long it is a great time to buy, because that's how they make their money. But if you are listening to sources that are all the way on the other side, like the news, you're going to hear things like, oh no, inflation, prices are going higher, or they'll say things like interest rates are going up, which is a fact, is true. But is that really something that is going to really affect you, or is it something that you can live with for a while? And we're going to kind of dive into how it can affect you here in just a moment. But I want you to kind of think about where it is that you're getting your information from and kind of scrutinize that so that you kind of take the emotion out of your home buying process, because that is the number one thing that will make you make wrong decisions in this process. So let's dive in a little further. Okay, so one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that real estate in general actually has like its buying and selling seasons throughout the year. And it's kind of heavier depending on where it is that you live. Okay, so for example, families with a lot of kids usually would opt to move in the summertime. So then what happens is that because a lot of people would rather move in the summertime or towards the end of spring, you actually start seeing the property, prices start going up, bidding wars start to happen. It might be just the wrong time of year for you to move, and then also, if you live in states where it gets really cold, a lot of people just don't want to move, in the middle of the blizzard. So it's just not fun. I live in Central Florida, so that's not an issue here, but thank God. But it could be for a lot of places, and you have to really consider, can I wait until the winter time? Can I wait until the fall time? Can I wait until early spring to move? Is this might be the best thing for our family, because you might actually be able to take advantage of the fact that there are less people in the market to buy, and you can actually get things like concessions, maybe get somebody to pick up closing costs, the seller. There's a lot of different ways that you can get around that. And timing is absolutely the first thing that you should consider. All right. Now, let's talk about interest rates for a minute. It is frustrating to see the interest rates go up. I'm not going to lie. It's frustrating probably all around for everyone, but it is not the end of the world. It is not something that should absolutely sideline you from purchasing your home for years and years to come. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to explain to you this way. Yes, a higher interest rate means that your payment is going to be higher per month. But does it have to be that way forever? A lot of people don't realize this, but you can refinance your home. And usually I would suggest within the first 4 years, but you could refinance your home, usually not at a huge price, and get a lower interest rate anytime after you purchase that house. Really, whenever you want. But as a financial coach myself, I would suggest that you do it within the first 4 years. Just has to do with principal and interest and how that whole works. Anyway, I'll make a video on explaining why another time. But what you want to keep in mind is that the interest rate that you're locked into does not have to be permanent. It doesn't have to be for absolute ever. Okay. It just means that, can I live with it right now? Is this okay? Is this something that I can afford right now in my budget? Can I put up with it for a year or two? I would dare to say that probably next election cycle, something's going to happen, someone's going to move something, and the rates will probably come back down. And guess what? You'll be able to refinance your property and get a smaller rate. I'm pretty sure they're not going to stay this high for absolute ever. Okay. Ask people who grew up in the 80s where rates were even higher than they are right now. Did they stay those rates forever? No. Everybody saw them go up, go down. They just, fluctuate with different seasons with the economy. And that's something that you have to keep an eye on, be mindful of. Is it something that I can afford right now? Now, with that said, you want to keep in mind that because of that, it means that you are getting less house. You are getting a smaller property in general. The amount of space that you are getting is less. So for some people, that's not a deal breaker at all. They just want to get their foot in the door. They just want to, maybe get an uglier house that they're going to fix up. They're going to end up selling it anyway. It's just their starter home. And for some people who are like, I got kids, man, like I need rooms. I got to put them in. I want to plant roots and I need something now forever. Just, I don't want to move for, the next 10 years or something like that. Then for those people, it might be advantageous to just wait a little bit longer so that you can get yourself into a property that is a little bit more comfortable, because you don't want to go from a decent sized rental where everyone is pretty comfortable to a smaller property that you are owning. That's something that you need to consider as a homeowner, as an individual. So think about that. Let's talk about two things that you want to just consider when getting a home loan. Okay, one, you could always buy that interest rate down. You do not have to just go with what your lender is presenting you. A lot of the times, if you come with some cash at closing, you will be able to buy down the rate. Now, this is something that you have to communicate to your lender ahead of time. It is something that you absolutely have to budget for, that those funds need to be in your bank account when you go to close. And you need to make sure that you are ready to pay that down and not get locked into a higher interest rate. All right. And what that means is that, let's say you're purchasing a house and let's say that the interest rate is like 7.5%. And then the lender tells you, hey, come out of pocket $5,000 and we'll give it to you at 5.5%. Okay, great. You make sure that you've got your down payment, you've got whatever closing costs, and then you've got that extra $5,000 rolling in, and your monthly mortgage payment will be a lot less than what it would have been with the original interest rate. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to talk about is a program called NACA. Let's talk about NACA. First of all, NACA stands for the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. NACA has an interesting history as to how it got started, but now it is an amazing, wonderful thing. Let's talk about its history for just a second, because it's a little juicy. NACA started because Bank of America got a little bit too selective as to who was allowed to get a home loan through them. And this wasn't that long ago, okay? And what I mean by too selective is pretty much cutting out people of color. So they ended up getting sued and they lost, and they were forced by the United States government to create the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, which is now a nonprofit funded solely by Bank of America. They weren't the only lender involved, but they're definitely the only ones now. Yeah, good stuff. Let's talk about the program that it is right now, though, the way that it is. NACA, you can get a house that is 100% paid. Usually for most lenders, they will not give you 100%. They will only maybe give you 95%, 97.5%, and you have to come up with the difference, okay, out of pocket at closing. NACA will actually give you 100%, which is huge, because that means it's zero down. Now, it doesn't mean free. You still have to come up with your closing cost, which on average, at least here it is in Central Florida, it's about $1,000. I would love to know, if you got a house through NACA, how much did you pay? Or if you know somebody who got a house through NACA, how much they paid for their closing and where they are located. I would love to find that out, because I'm sure it's different throughout the country. But the other thing that you want to know about the program is that they don't really care about your credit. Your credit history does not really matter to them. Your credit score doesn't really matter to them either. If everybody else says no, NACA will say yes. The other big thing with them is that their interest rates are lower by like 2.5 points, sometimes even more. And you could buy it down. So let's say you were saving up, a good $5,000 to buy down or to put down on a down payment on the house. Well, now just take that money and then just get the NACA loan, and you'll be able to use that to buy down your actual interest rate and get a smaller payment. Huge, huge, huge benefit. That's all wonderful. What's the downside? Let's talk about that. So I would dare say maybe only like 1 out of every 10 person that starts NACA actually goes through with buying a house. And it's not because of their rejection of you as a borrower. It is actually because the borrower has a hard time navigating the entire process. Okay, it's cumbersome. You need documents. You need to stay on top of things. There's like a portal. You got to update your document. You got to go to meetings. You used to have to go to a 4-hour long training in certain parts of the state. Like you literally had to travel far to go to the meetings for these things. Now you can actually do them online. So they are getting better with certain things, but it is still a very cumbersome process. And a lot of people just kind of say, no, I don't want to go through all of that. And they go through a traditional lender. It doesn't have to be the case for everyone. My suggestion is that if you are going to go through the NACA program, that you get help. Get someone who can kind of hold your hand through the process. Find someone who's maybe familiar with the lending process, maybe somebody who can just kind of guide you through it, be your support person to kind of push you on. Usually like 1 out of 10 people who actually start the NACA program go through it and purchase a house. My suggestion though is that you get, like, if you can't find someone who is like that, maybe try to get a financial coach who is familiar with lending, familiar with the process itself. That's actually what I do. I'm a financial coach specifically for people who are looking to purchase a home in the future. I am familiar with the NACA program. I understand a lot of it. I would definitely be able to do some hand holding through the process itself so you can purchase the home. Not only that, I'd be the person to help you get all of the funds that you might need to get that lower interest rate. I'm the person who's going to help you learn how to maintain that house financially afterwards, maybe even do some estate planning afterwards. So there's a lot of things that a financial coach can help you out. If you want some information or more information on that, you can check my website or just check the links below. I'll include some information about that. But you definitely don't want to just kind of throw yourself into the process. You might feel overwhelmed and you might want to say, no, never mind, I'm going to put this off. And then 2 years later, you're still renting, your rent's getting higher and you can't afford it. 3 years later, just stop putting it off. Stop putting it off. You're not going to find the best time. You're really just not. You're not going to find the most amazing. There might be a time of the year where it might be better. You might be able to get some things done from one time to another that you wouldn't be able to, pricing wise, interest rate wise. But if you keep putting it off, it's just inevitable. You're going to price yourself out of your market. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to have to move to a cheaper area, further away from where you live now. And if that is okay with you, then great. But if that's uncomfortable for you, then you definitely want to lock something in as soon as possible in your area. So if you want to discuss all of this a little bit further, like I said, I'm going to put some links in the description below and we can chat. I do 30-minute free consultation calls. At least I can hear your story and at least give you a base minimum plan on something that you can do, or we could see if you might be a good fit for one of my programs. But I hope this information helps you consider your future as a homeowner, and I guess I will see you soon. Bye.